Okay, so for a few minutes, and please, I'd like this to be interactive. I'm going to be speaking about the future of advertising, but you can also call that the future of marketing communications and your place in it as the future creative leaders. A bit of background about myself, which you might already know. As Mr. Andu has said, I currently am managing director at Nitro 121, which is one of the leading marketing communications or advertising companies, if you will, in Nigeria and across West Africa. My background comes from a marketing context. So I've previously worked in various marketing roles at companies such as Cadbury, PZ Cussons, Airtel, GSK, and also was managing director at Nielsen West Africa. Nielsen is the largest marketing research company in the world. So essentially have worked across the marketing ecosystem. And I use that to preface this conversation because as I go on, I'm going to be talking about marketing communications as a whole, and also expand that a bit for you in the context of the marketing ecosystem. Because for you to excel as a leader in advertising or in marketing communications, you need to have a broad understanding of marketing itself. That's when you would excel in the context of marketing communications. So that's as a preface as we talk about the future of marketing communications and your place in it. So in terms of outline, we'll look at the journey so far, where we're coming back from in history. We'll look at the trends of advertising into the future. So you will hear me speak a lot about interchanging the words advertising with marketing communications. Okay, and then the skills that I think that you need for the future of marketing communications. Now, just a quick history, right? And I'm sure most of us were not born in the 70s, all right? But in the 70s, essentially the kind of communications or materials, platforms were used were radio, TV, print, direct mail, and billboard. And essentially it was a one-way way of communicating to customers, to consumers. Now that evolved into the 80s, where you began to have a lot more around television, around media, quality of content was improving. You got the internet coming to play in the 80s, and from a marketing perspective and Marcom's perspective, that began to be important from the 90s, especially with emails. But even then, it was not really sophisticated. So you still had what was called the above the line means of communication: TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, and outdoor billboards, as it was called at the time. Right now, we call it out of home. But with the advent of the 2000s and from 2004, when the likes of Facebook came into play, the social media boom began. So Facebook was a major paradigm shift, right? And then later on, you have the likes of Instagram coming to play, Twitter, and you therefore have a lot more platforms that are platforms where brands, advertisers can relate and communicate and engage with the consumer, the target market. So from the 2000s, it became a lot more interactive. Okay, so that's more or less where we are, but it's now evolved now, even with the advent of digital marketing and technology, that has become even a lot more important from a marketing perspective. So you have situations where consumers are more empowered. They're more involved in content, in fact, creating their own content. So you have co-creation going on, and there are lots of platforms. So the technology is evolving, marketing communications and the way it is being done is evolving. And in the future, it will even change faster because of technology. So one of the key callouts, as I go into some more detail, is preparing yourself for what's currently going on and the changes that will happen. And a lot of it is going to delve around technology, but also how do you understand human behavior and be able to understand trends that are happening, that are going to happen in the future. Yeah. So what are some of those trends in the future of marketing communications? One, we're going to see increased personalization. So unlike what happened in the past where you have a lot of mass advertising, mass communication. The point is consumers, the marketplace is wanting to have personalization. People want to feel that you are speaking to them. So how do you develop content that speaks to each person? Even if there are 7 billion people, counting more in the world, each person wants to feel that what he's receiving from advertisers, what he or she is receiving from marketing communications, people, from brand managers, is something that they can connect with. So you're going to find increased personalization, and also what is called self-optimizing content. Again, that's content that speaks to me as a consumer and not necessarily speak to somebody else, even my wife, who might be sitting next to me. You will find that there will be increasing use of video content. So skills around the ability to develop video is going to be very important, very relevant. Content in terms of entertaining and informative content. So what you might call edutaining. Content that a consumer can listen to, will be entertained, but also be educated by, is going to increase in the future. You're going to find more intelligent, automated advertising. Again, that's the use of technology is going to come into play. And this is all about better pinpointing consumers wherever they are. And a lot of this is going to be happening in the digital space. You're going to find marketing communications that uses tribes or communities. So what will happen is if a group of people have shared values, shared interests, they exist in communities, they exist in tribes. And in influencing them, it will not just be mass communication, as it's called, but you will have a situation where it's personalized, targeted communication and increased utilization of micro influencers, as opposed to what you might call the bigger influencers. So the bigger influencers, if I to use somebody like, say, Alibaba, who may have on Instagram about 1 million followers. So he is more of a mass influencer. But you would have, so it's addressing many people, but your brand may not be interested in all the 1 million people. Your communication may be, I just want to talk to about 200 of those followers. So you may have micro influencers who may not have as many as 1 million followers, but actually have a small group of community that will be better targeted utilizing those macro influencers. So those are some of the trends that you may have. And the other one to mention is around data. Data. A lot of advertising, a lot of marketing communications is going to happen more effectively when you understand the consumer and their behavior. Where are they? Why are they behaving the way they are? Why are they interested in the kind of brands that are available? Why are they interested in what communication platforms? So an understanding of the consumer experience and touch points will be important, and you will need data. So one of the key skills, and I'm going to speak to this as well, is understanding data, understanding how to mine data, understanding consumer behavior, and interpreting consumer behavior is going to be important. And then the fourth trend is around digital experiential, in terms of how technology will come to play. Artificial intelligence for being able to predict the impact of advertising materials. Advertising materials, not just on the typical traditional of TV or radio, but you will have either augmented reality and virtual reality. And I will speak to a bit more about this later as well. So these are some of the trends that are going to play. And you need to be, as an emerging leader, be aware of these trends that are already happening and those that will still yet emerge. So the summary of this issue of trends is that the future of intelligent marketing communications and marketing will require skills that you will need to develop to innovate, to be innovative, to be creative, to be able to understand and interpret data, to be able to engage with customers, and also be able to understand the latest marketing trends in order for you to develop effective marketing strategy, effective marketing communications. And it doesn't matter whether you're interested in being a copywriter, an art director, or a strategist. It's very important that you have a fair understanding of all these trends and these skills that are being highlighted. So what are some of those skills that you need to begin to think about? You need to become a storyteller. a storyteller. Marketing communications involves telling stories, as I'm sure you already have known from some of the classes you may have had. Telling stories that connect with the consumer and that take bearing from human truths. This means that you as a creative leader, you should be able to tell stories that are engaging and compelling, that will connect with the target consumer and get them to love the brand that you are seeking to sell. So proper storytelling helps to put a human feel to the brand. It helps to connect. And I'm sure all of us have been following the Airtel Meet the In-Law series. So this is a creative way in which storytelling has been used to connect the Airtel brand to the target consumers. So storytelling is a trend that has come to stay and is going to be emerge and being a lot more stronger. The key point is how you're able to tell stories that connect and engage with the customer in such ways that the customer feels, look, I want to sit down and listen to this piece of communication. As you know, increasingly, especially with millennials and Generation Z, time is an issue. So how can you create communication that is engaging and is not boring, such that people will want to actually stay for more than 4 seconds? And one of the things that research has found out is that if you don't grab the attention of consumers within the first 4 seconds of a communication material, then you lose them. So you need to have that in mind. Storytelling that engages and causes consumers to want to stay and listen to your piece of communication. Another skill that you will need is project management. So yes, there's a creative part of it, but at the end of the day, if you're developing fantastic copy, ultimately it is about it being delivered when it is required by the brand to connect with the target market. So as a brand manager, and it doesn't matter whether you're a copy person, art director, a strategist, you are managing brands. So you need to be creative and at the same time have some measure of analytical skills that be able to help you to manage the brand that you're involved with to get best results. Other skills that you require will include interpersonal skills, and that's really important. Interpersonal skills, if you're working within an agency, as an example, you need to have a good relationship with other members of the team to be able to get the best results from them and for them to also get best results from you. Negotiation skills. There will be time, maybe you need to deliver a copy if you're a copywriter, and you are truly pressured, and yet the client or the brand manager or the client service contact person is putting pressure. How are you able to negotiate? So you will need good negotiation skills. You need to have good presentation skills, because if you do have a good idea and you're not able to sell the idea in a storytelling way that can win over people to your ideas, then you will be challenged. So develop presentation skills, and also develop, as linked to the interpersonal skills, be able to develop strong client management skills if you happen to be working on the agency side. But even if you happen to be working on what is called the client side, you also need to have strong interpersonal skills. Managing your agency, managing your internal stakeholders, managing external stakeholders will be very important. I've already spoken about a skill around data analytics, and this is going to be important. Again, whether you're a copywriter or an art director, you need to understand the customer or the consumer of the brand involved. So test everything, don't assume anything. You need to develop analytical skills. Now, if you happen to be keen on statistics, build it up. But analytics is going to be big into the future. So whether or not you want to specialize in data analytics, at least have a basic understanding of it. Understand statistics to some measure, all right? Understand Excel, understand analytical tools. They will be useful for you in the future as you go on. So capability to mine data, capability to have insights will be important for you. I've spoken as well about virtual reality and augmented reality. Okay, so all this involved with big data, but they can also be used as creative tools that you can utilize. So understand this technology as well. You, again, even if you're not an expert in it, understanding it helps you, because you can then have ideas. Where I work, We actually have some of the creative guys that come up with some of these ideas. They may not be able to execute it, but they're able to come up with the idea. So you need to have that creative thought. How can you utilize virtual augmented reality as a creative platform to influence consumer behavior? There might be people who can have experts who can develop it, but at least you have those ideas. So as an example, in 2017, Nike launched a system that allowed customers to design their own sneakers in store. So the Nike makers experience allowed the customers to put on blank Nike sneakers, and right there they could choose their own graphics and colors using augmented reality. All right. So that's one way. In fact, even in Nigeria, a paint manufacturer like Dulux allows you to walk into their shop and you can mix and match different colors to get colors that you're interested in. That's the power of technology and the power of being able to use virtual reality. If you go to a cinema, all right, or a cinema, for example, you can actually sit there with 3D, right? You can use 3D and it appears that when you're watching, you're actually in the movie itself. And so imagine creating advertising that makes people feel that they can actually touch the particular product if it's a consumer good. Those are the things that you need to be thinking about and preparing yourself about for the future. Digital marketing encompasses a lot of what I've spoken about. So you need to be skilled. You need to be skilled in digital marketing. And fortunately, you're all in the Gen Z, I believe, generation. So you need to have the skills. Social media, email marketing, direct marketing, mobile marketing, search marketing are some of the examples that you can utilize even now and into the future, because it involves communicating with a well-targeted consumer with various devices. And one of the things that researchers is telling us is that mobile is growing, and therefore most people are going to be getting their content from mobile. So how do you begin to think about how you can utilize mobile in terms of developing and disseminating creative content? Okay, and this is what it's really about. It's about engaging with the customer or the consumer, attracting them and delighting them so that they stay connected. Okay, so what are some of those soft skills that you need? Again, I've spoken to some of them already. So let me just add some. Yeah, there's creativity, teamwork, interpersonal skills, good, in fact, I would say excellent written and spoken communication. Very important in this industry for you to excel. Creative thinking, analytical thinking. So those are key soft skills that you need as you begin to get into the future for you within this industry. And then my last word for you is never stop learning. Never stop learning. Learn, unlearn, relearn. Things are changing very fast. So never stop learning. It's great that you're in this academy. Never stop learning. Even at the stage I am in my career, I keep trying to learn, because the more you learn, the better you become, and the better you'll be able to succeed as a creative leader. So let me stop there, and I will be happy to take any questions that anyone has. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was very, very insightful, and I really learned a lot from this presentation. But I have a few questions concerning the act of storytelling.
Yes.
The storytelling in what sense? Because when you say storytelling, it means that you have to be able to tell the consumers a story, or you have to be able to advertise or to market to them in a way that makes them want to with that follow along with the advertisement, and then eventually to buy the product or to take part in the service. So
Yes.
I just want to ask, how are the ways that we can build on the scale of storytelling? Because some people naturally do know how to be creative in that aspect, and some people are not very creative when it comes to storytelling. So how do we build in the act of storytelling? How do we groom that skill?
Okay. So first of all, read. First of all, read diverse subjects, because storytelling is The more you read, say novels, the way you are able to expose your mind to different ways of telling stories, the better it becomes. So first thing is you can't be a great storyteller if you're not exposing your mind to various stimuli such as reading.
Mm-hmm.
Also look at videos, good examples of storytelling videos. Try and learn how people are telling those stories. So reading, expose yourself to other good examples of storytelling is one way to begin to build the skill. That's one. Two, do it. Practice. Practice makes perfect, as the old cliche says. So the more you practice it, the better you become. Be open to feedback. In fact, fair enough, I think yesterday I saw a quote. Somebody who's a writer said that his writing got better when he stopped listening to those who told him that he's a good writer and started to listen more to people who told him he was writing crap, right? So expose yourself. And I'm not saying you should listen to only those who are telling you you're not doing well. No. What that means is be open to feedback, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. So be open to feedback. Expose your writing to other people, expose your storytelling to other people, and let people give constructive feedback and take the constructive feedback and build. So there are perhaps many other things you can do, but I've said three things. One, read a lot, read diverse novels, read diverse materials, expose yourself to good examples of storytelling from a video or an audio perspective. And three, practice, expose your materials to others who can give you constructive feedback. I hope that helps.